We'd like to once again welcome you to our Easing the Reader podcast. We are rereading The Wheel of Time from book 1, but we're on book 2. There it is, The Great Hunt. It doesn't have a big ogre holding the horn of Valir.
No.
Which is the edition that I have.
Yeah, they didn't do these ones. See, I have all the all the Orbit Books versions, which are the UK ones that came out in. So I bought all these in around 2002 or 3. Yeah. So this one came out in 2003. So this was the 2003 edition, and they all look like this, but with different colours. So we didn't get the funky American covers, which are just some of them are just from the realms of madness, as we've discussed before.
Yes.
But I kind of wish that I had them. Like if I went into like a charity shop or something and I saw them all, or if I went into a charity shop, if a shop ever opened again in Ireland, which may or may not ever happen, we don't know. But if say one did and one of them was a charity shop and they had all of the American Wheel of Time covers, I would just buy them all just so I had them. Just so I could be like, I have these covers that I have no idea what's going on in most of them. I'm a big fan of the Lord of Chaos one because it kind of looks like it's almost like a Mills and Boon kind of cover because like Rand is like stood in like really tight black pants with this like white flowing shirt that's caught in the wind, and it's like, you know, it's looking all manly and stuff. But it's funny because the leaked set photos from the TV show kind of paid homage to it and looked like him, which was so yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that.
Well, anyway, my name is Chris Mary Hultman. With me, I have, as always, my co-host David Green. We're going to talk about the following chapter 13 to 18 of The Great Hunt. I do think that the Great Hunt is probably the cover that always appealed to me the most.
Yeah, out of the American ones, I think it's the one that's kind of normal, and not normal, but kind of one that looks good, and the characters kind of represent who they're supposed to be quite well. Whereas like some of the other ones, it's like you're having to figure it out. Like even though you might have read the scene that it correlates to, you kind of like, is this person in this scene? I don't think they are. I know it was but yeah, the Great Hunt one is good.
Yeah. But it's kind of like the Terry Pratchett pictures. I mean, or the Terry Pratchett covers, like the original ones by Josh Kirby, because they make like no sense. Because I think it's like Josh Kirby read the book, and then just like everything that happens in the book, he put on the cover. He's the first one, and it's so horrible because he doesn't seem to have understood, and I didn't at first. But one of the characters, Two Flower, is described as having 4 eyes, and it's because the main character, Rincewind, does not know what glasses are.
Yeah.
So he thinks so, but on the cover he has 4 eyes.
Artistic, what's it called? Artistic license.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones. Like a really good kind of famous one, what an author doesn't like so much is the Dresden Books, because at no point is he described as wearing a hat.
No, I know. He does wear a duster.
Wears a duster, but he doesn't wear a hat. And on the cover of every single book, he wears a hat. He wears a cowboy hat. Like
I mean, he looks like. I mean, I think that's supposed to be, like, you know, it's supposed to pay tribute to the noir sensation of what, you know, an homage to Jim Butcher's, like, well, noir character, because it's kind of like what he is. But I mean, because I read the comic books very early on when they came out. Interesting enough, the same company that put out the Wheel of Time comic books.
Yeah.
Dable Brothers, and then later Dynamite that bought Dable Brothers. But there he doesn't actually have the hat.
No. Well, he's not supposed to. But that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's I mean, I would I don't have Nick Halloran wearing a hat either, actually. But I wonder. But on the covers, he has a hat on them. But that's a different story altogether, I suppose. A story for another time.
Yes, and I think Grant Hinton's, who's a mutual or actually, do you know Grant Hinton?
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, so he's a mutual author friend, a Brit who lives in Australia, of all crazy things. His character has a hat on the cover as well, and I don't think he wears a hat.
Yeah. What is it with artists loving putting hats on people? They're really hard to draw. As someone who has got an art degree, like, hats are not the easiest thing to draw, surprisingly enough. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to do this and show that I can do it.
Yes. I'm thinking that they don't want to, like, there's never a discussion of what kind of haircut the person has. So it's just like, I'll just put a hat on.
Yeah, maybe. Because that's the thing, like when you write in the first person, you have to come up with like elaborate ways of describing the character themselves. Like obviously Jim Butcher does that in some ways, where he just keeps on going on about how like whenever Dresden's in a fist fight with someone, he talks about like how tall and scrawny he is. But like I can hold my own even though I'm tall and scrawny, and sometimes my hair. Yeah, so it's like you kind of have to just like, and you don't want to fall into the trap of the character looking at themselves in the mirror and describing themselves like really like it's not great writing. We've all
writing tip number 1: don't have your character describe themselves.
We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all it's you should try and avoid it. But it's I always find like it's a modern thing though where describing the character has fallen out of favor a little bit, because obviously you go back to like Wheel of Time and everyone's described like that as soon as someone that comes into a scene, that the narrator, the third person narrator, takes the time to describe them. And lots of books are like that, but these days it's not so much done. Like it'll just be, instead of going into it in like minute details, it's like a paint stroke of this person is tall and they have red hair, and that's pretty much it, and they leave it. And then somewhere they might just say there was a look in his grey eyes. So that'd be like how Rand would be described these days. But now, obviously, back then it was, this is exactly what he looks like. He also looks like these people from this place as well, and it's and that's just the way. And Dresden's a funny one because it kind of does the noir tropes, and from the time it was starting to be written, which was like early 2000s, it has that kind of leftover, especially the first couple of books, where the pace slows right down whenever someone new walks in the room, and then we'll be going, this woman has walked in and she has this coloured hair and this colour eyes and her skin is like this and her clothes are cut this way, and it's like, all right, just, you don't need to do this anymore. Because that's the thing, like especially you expect it when it's a third person point of view, but not first person as much, because it's, why is the person taking the time to?
No, yeah, and we were talking about that, like, because I mean, you have to think about what is the believability rate of such a book, because why would, like, I'm working on one now which is very much noir and gritty, and I'm just like, why would my main character, who's obviously he's speaking in the first person, describe his partner? I mean, they've known each other for their, as long as they've been partners. Why would he describe what he looks like?
Yeah.
Because I mean, he knows what he looks like, and why would he describe himself?
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, well, whatever. So they don't do that. So I mean, there's no real. But I want to kind of have it as like, if you know the genre, you kind of know what the characters look like.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways around it, but you can always have like someone referring to him, like, anyone ever told you look like Humphrey Bogart or something like that, that kind of thing, and then that puts that picture in someone's head then, and like, oh yeah, I get told it all the time, and whatever, that kind of thing, or so yeah, there's ways around it, but it's an interesting thing to kind of think about how writing has changed, where it's not so much of a, because you wouldn't, maybe before the mid 2000s, you would never, especially in fantasy, you would never get characters that weren't described. But now, like, if you read like Joe Abercrombie's latest series, the Time of Madness one, from starting with A Little Hatred. Like it's bare minimum description of characters. Like it's basically like the characteristics of them, and the characterizations are in great detail, but the actual physical descriptions is low, which I think is actually a wise thing to do these days, because when you get into the realms of headcanon and a lot of things getting picked up for TV and film,
Yeah.
it just, whenever someone gets cast, it just causes so much aggro because people are like, this is not how they were described in the book. And it's like, well, if we don't describe them, then it's fine.
Well, I mean, I think that's what made me surprised when in the Earthsea TV show they were all black, because I never thought of them as being black. But I mean, they live in a southern region where it's very sunny, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. But yeah. I never thought of that.
The thing is, though, as well, it's because of the artwork done for a lot of these things, right? So, like, if you take Wheel of Time, for example, everyone on the cover is white because that was when, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, that was the market audience, was white men, white teenagers, white men. So it was like, make them look like the people that are reading it. But so people get like that kind of thing in the head where it's like, well, that's what they look like. Even though the artwork didn't perfectly look like how they described in the books anyway. But even with Wheel of Time, there's confusion over it because when you really kind of, it's not even delve into it. Like, because there was big controversy when the casting first came out that Perrin was black and Egwene and Nynaeve were as well, because they were like, well, everyone from the Two Rivers is white. It's supposed to be England. It's supposed to be this, and this. But there's bits in the first book that, I mean, Sen Buey is described as being as dark as an old root, right? So he's clearly not white, right? Someone would not describe me as being as dark as an old root, right? They'd say as pasty as a milk bottle, probably. Like, you know, and then there's a bit where which probably isn't going to be in the TV show, but where Rand meets the Drakans and Aleda, and she grabs his coat and pulls and looks at his arm and says, "No one in that part in the Two Rivers has skin this fair."
No.
Right, and obviously Rand stands out because he's white and he's got red hair. So obviously, like, you take that and you think, well, they're not all white people in the Two Rivers, because there's two specific remarks where someone is saying his skin is too white. This person is like a dark root, like, you know what I mean? So it's there. It's just that it's a weird thing with Robert Jordan. Like, he would describe people quite a lot, but he'd describe mannerisms, hair, eye colour, height, build, but he would never really say, this person is black, this person is white, this person is Asian, this person is this. It was something that he just didn't really go into, apart from the ale.
he says because he says in that interview that I heard at the end of the audiobook for Eye of the World, that he wanted to write a series of books that was for everyone. That's why it's all kind of like based on such general mythology. There's like some Arthurian, which he never says it is, but obviously we know better, but he never like owns up to it. But he talks a lot about, there's like Hinduism and there's Buddhism, you know, there's a lot. So I think maybe there's a way of him trying to do like, this is for every man. So you can, it's kind of like how Tintin, even though Tintin isn't black in any way, but Tintin is kind of like pale. I mean, he has no characteristics. And Hergé wanted it to be so that everybody could identify.
Yeah. Well, that's the way. And the thing is with Robert Jordan as well, and with Wheel of Time specifically, like, you know, it's not a spoiler to say, we talked about it already on this show, and obviously it's called The Wheel of Time, and it's made clear at the start that we're on a wheel of time, that this is our future and past. And Rafe, who's the showrunner, talked about it, how he was like, we wanted the show to look like our world in 1,000 years' time, when where there's been this big, massive, disruptive thing that's happened, and all the different races were all displaced and mixed together.
Mm.
And he basically was saying that he wants the show to look like what America would look like in 200 years' time, which is fair enough. Like,
fair enough.
That's what the world looks like, and why shouldn't a fantasy show look exactly like that as well? Is my 2 cents.
It's almost like the end. That's like the PSA of at the end of a GI Joe.
Yeah.
So, or He-Man or whatever. Should we jump into the actual story?
Let's not. Well,
No.
First of all, before we do, a bit of TV news came out on what day? What day is it? What year are we in now? Is it 2021 now? Is it? Yeah.
I think it's the 3rd, 2021.
2021. So we got confirmation, if confirmation was needed, that Shadar Logoth is for sure in the TV show, and we got to see Matt's dagger, and it actually looked like it was taken from a trailer, from an upcoming trailer as well. It's actual footage. So how do you feel about that?
I do. I mean, I think Shadar Logoth need. I mean, I like that. I don't know what to say about the dagger. I mean, obviously, it's a big part of the whole thing, and it's what kind of, brings everything to a head at the end of the first book because they're following the dagger.
Mm.
So it would be weird if they didn't have it there. It'd be weird. I think it's a good. I mean, I think you can do a lot of creepy stuff there. I think you can almost make it a little like a little maze labyrinth, even that you could stop there for a little while, and that's how like Rand gets comes in contact with the Dark One.
Well, it seems like they're changing things a little bit from the footage, because when obviously in the book they kind of stumble into a room that's got loads of gold and everything and riches, and then when Mordeth, as he is known, appears, they all grab weapons, and Matt just so happens to grab a dagger. But in the footage, it's like a bare room, and it's just like a box, and you see Matt's hands, and he opens the box and pulls out this dagger, and you hear him say, "All right, let's make a deal." So there looks like there's something. They're changing things slightly to kind of make it less like it's a bumbling into like, oh, let's just take these weapons and run, or something like that.
It's very, very Dungeons and Dragon-esque, though.
Yeah.
Like stumbling into a room full of gold and just grabbing whatever.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things as well, like, you've mentioned it a few times, it's like, how naive do you want to make these boys at the start?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but if I was in the ruins of some ancient, horrible-looking city that I've been told by an Aes Sedai, bit of a bad place this, Trollocs and Madral are scared of going in here, so don't touch anything. And then you went into a room that was full of gold. You'd be like, this is slightly suspicious. Think I will just leave, I think is what I will going to do.
I don't know if I'd go into a place like that.
I know. So it'd be interesting to see, like, just what it is, what they're going to do. But yeah, good. I'm glad that it's in it, because like our Logoth is. We thought it had been. We hoped it would be, and then there was some concept art recently where we were like fairly certain that it was Shadar Logoth, but it's good to kind of get confirmation that it's definitely going to happen. And with the dagger as well, like there's still the question mark of whether the horn is going to be in it. Like it might not be. Who knows? Even though it's called the Great Hunt, but the dagger obviously has a great part of starting the journey of the second book.
Yeah. That's obviously what they're. It's the fuel of the second book.
For Rand and Matt and Perrin in particular, like they don't really care about. I mean, this was like last week's stuff, because we finished last 2 weeks ago. We finished as they were all heading out of Val Dara, which is the first time to stay in a place for a long time, and they want to get the horn back and all that kind of stuff. But Ingtar is the one that wants the horn. Like Rand wants to get away from the Aes Sedai, but also help his friends.
Yeah.
And his friends Perrin and Matt want to. Well, Matt wants the dagger. Perrin's just along for the ride. Really, he's just hanging around. He's just there.
I think in this series of chapters that we read now, I find that Perrin just gets kind of like more and more annoying.
Yeah.
I find it's like, man, why did they bring this guy?
It's something they really need to address for the TV series for the second season, because he has an arc in the third book, and this is the thing, is if they're going to make the second series a second and third book, which they may well do, because there's very, very similar things that happen in both of them. The thing is, he has no real arc in the second book. He's just along for the ride. So it's like, if you do it in separate seasons, he's basically kind of wasted in this one. But then, so what do they do? Well, how are they going to get about it? Because it's something that they really do need to do, because he is one of the main characters, and he doesn't have a lot to do in the second book. Like the second book is Rand again. It's Rand's book, and and Egwene as well. It's Rand and Egwene's book. They're the big kind of drives in this one, and Matt to an extent. But even, like, not going into huge spoilers or anything, but even Moraine and Lan are not in this book all that much either. They're kind of sidelined in this one as well. It's very much Rand, the Forsaken, and Egwene, and the White Tower is the kind of focus in this book.
Yeah. He's kind of like a Millhouse character in this one. A little Millhouse. But if we started off, the one thing that we didn't talk about, because I mean, John mentioned it, the character he would cut out, which was Hurin, right? Which they in the book, on the audiobook, very much pronounce it like urine.
Yeah.
So, but that he's a sniffer.
He is a sniffer, yeah.
And that is just, I don't know. It's just an odd thing.
It is, yeah. It's a nice little wrinkle, though, I think, of bringing in these kind of weird and wonderful talents that people have. So we have like Taverin, and we have people that can wield power. But then in the first book, with Perrin and his wolf brotherness, and there's talk of all these old things awakening that people weren't able to do anymore. And this is another one, someone who can smell violence.
Yeah,
it's quite outrageous, really, because you'd think he'd just be all the time, like he'd just be smelling it everywhere. But I think John's point was, and I'd seen him do a video on this before, there's another character that appears later on in the book, that he thinks that he could combine them together. I think
he was mentioning that.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is that they get, and the thing was, because I listened to this first and then I read it, so I must have been doing something else, or just must have gotten like confused, because what happens here in the first chapter, From Stone to Stone, is that they kind of get split up, and they Rand and the Ogier, and Euron, right?
Yeah.
So they pass through some stones and come to like another dimension.
It's another dimension.
Yes. Which I didn't at first understand, that they were in a different dimension, because they kept talking about this weird place they were in, so that it was interesting. I mean, I like the concept. Parallel dimensions and everything like that is fine.
Yeah.
And Rand is obviously worried, because he thinks that they're kind of like in like a waypoint.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid that they're in a waypoint.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid of that the Trollocs are going to come after him. And that's basically what happens, like in the beginning. They kind of go through these stones.
Yeah.
And get separated.
Yeah. So it's so they follow. He's having Matt's being a bit of a dick,
Yeah, they're kind of like a little they're little whiny bitches here. Rand and Matt, they're not.
They're not getting along all that well. This is the thing.
No, they are.
This is the thing that I've been quite clear about this a few times. Matt is my favourite Wheel of Time character, but I despise him in this book. Like I know what Robert Jordan was trying to do with him, but every single kind of decision that I think he makes with his character is just makes him unlikable. To the point where I think he actually realizes it himself and kind of does like a character reboot on him in the third book. Like, I literally does a reboot on him. It's just like, and he's great, and he's great Matt Carthan from now. Because in the first book, he's all right. Like the first book is a better version of what he's trying to do in this book with him. Like it's more, you have more sympathy for him. In this one, it crosses the line too much for me, because Rand is annoyed at Rand because of like Rand tried to chase them all off earlier in the book because he's worried for them and Rand knows what he is and he knows this, and Rand comes clean about it. He tells them, tells them about it, and his reasons are valid reasons, and like Perrin understands them, but Matt is just like won't let it go. And you got the whole thing as well with the clothes where it's kind of like saying, "Oh, you're so my lord," and all this sort of stuff and everything, and Rand is like, "Well, you know that Moraine changed all my clothes. You know that Moraine told him that I have to be second in command." For any of this. Matt knows this sort of stuff, but he just won't let it go. And
he's gonna get so pissed when, I mean, like he's not pissed already because Rand gets all the ladies.
Yeah, this is true.
He's gonna show up with this other lady.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So he falls asleep anyway on this weird stone, and they just wake up in this place that is like kind of, the distance is not quite right. It's like kind of shifty, and it's kind of like, I think they describe it as kind of like it's all washed out as well. It's not like real. So you say it's a parallel universe. Is that the thing that you thought it was at first, or what did you think it was?
Well, at first I just didn't. At first I thought it was another dream, that he was like dreaming. Mm-hmm. But then they kept saying that it was a weird place, and I was just like, did they stumble into a waypoint anyway, and I just missed it? And I just had to see where it was going. But yeah, no, a parallel dimension is basically what I thought, because they kept saying strange place, and it's just like where everything just didn't seem like it was. It was seemed like it was like the mirror, not a mirror, but kind of like a bad reflection of what reality was.
So yeah, so this one, there's a few. This book really kind of gets into the kind of metaphysics of what the Wheel of Time is and what we're setting. So this is like, there's there's three different, four different realities. Let's say, okay. There's the reality. There's a different thing that comes on later on in the book, on this book, in fact, which gets explored in quite big depth, and it's something that we've already seen, but we actually haven't had it explained to us what it is yet. And then there's this thing. So there's a mirror world, and then there's a parallel world, and they're not quite the same.
Okay.
Right. So this is kind of like something, if something else had happened, this is what the world would look like. So there's multiple
okay
reads.
Is it kind of like, I mean, and how much has that been detailed? Maybe we should ask Matt next time he comes on. But like, how influenced was Robert Jordan by, say, like Dungeons and Dragons? Because Dungeons and Dragons has that idea of like there are multiple worlds or there's Forgotten Realms, there's Dragonlance, there's Erebos, I think it's called, which is where they have like some kind of technology. It's kind of like a steampunky world.
Yeah.
Ravenloft, right? There's a bunch of weird things.
Yeah, we can ask him next time he's on. I do know that from watching episodes of Dusty Wheel where they talk about this concept, that at this stage when he was still writing it, it wasn't set in stone exactly what it was that this was yet. And he was still kind of developing it, and it took a couple of more books before he kind of was like, yeah, this is it exactly. And that's why like people say, well, there's two different types of mirror worlds because of inconsistencies. But this is basically that anyway. So yeah, the portal stone. So there's different things you can do with these portal stones, right? And they do pop up. They pop up quite a lot over the next few books, and then they kind of disappear. So, right. They're still around, but like they use them quite a lot for the next few books. So this is the first one, and we wake up, we're a bit disorientated. We do have a dream as well, a dream sequence within this world as
Yes.
well, and we meet a new character.
Are you talking about, say, Celine?
Celine, yeah.
Yeah, like her.
What's her deal?
She is, and I'm thinking that she is. She gives me all the traits of being a what do you call it? A deceiver.
A deceiver.
Kind of like what Satan is to God.
A
But
temp,
now,
a temptress.
yes, now I'm gonna go. Now I'm gonna go break out my because Jordan obviously knew his religion. So I'm going to take us on a little theological journey because I studied religion as well at university, and I teach religion in school, which a lot of Americans find a really weird concept, but I do.
But you teach religion. Do you just think that's weird that you teach religion, or just teaching religion in general?
That in the States they find it weird because you're not allowed to teach religion in school.
Oh, really? Is that right? That's crazy. Like, yeah, we learn it in England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Sweden you do. So I mean, it gives me a chance to teach it, which is I love teaching religion. It's a great, apart from literature, it's great fun. But I mean, a lot of people think that Satan, the devil, Beelzebub, and that and Lucifer are all the same character, but they're not.
No.
They're different. Satan is actually God's buddy. He sends Satan out to tempt people to see if they're loyal to him or not.
Right.
So that's what he does. So that's when he meets Jesus in the desert. He's just like, hey, you know what? Maybe not hang on a cross.
Yeah, don't do it.
What do you think about that? That's not so cool. Be a cool dude.
Don't
So Satan's always doing that. And that's how God knows if they're loyal to him or not. So I feel like I got the same kind of deal with her. Because first she's like a girl in distress, but then she seems to know quite a bit more stuff than Loyal does, which Rand finds odd. But since Rand his only worry is really whether Tam is his dad or not.
Yeah.
Most of the time, which he's still kind of harping on.
He's still worried about it. He's still worried about it. He's even though he knows the truth now that because the Aes Sedais can't lie, they can admit things. But if they say something, then it's pretty much this is it. And Moraine told him the whole story about Tam, what he did, how he found him. He told her about the foretelling on the day that Rand was born. So like he knows the truth now. He just won't accept it because I suppose like being told that you're gonna destroy the world and then go mad and die is not the kind of news that you want to hear. Really, it takes a few minutes to sink in.
But that's the funny thing because I think that's like in the fight between him and Matt. I think he says something like that. It's like you're at least not gonna go mad.
Yeah.
It's like you have some strange relationship to a dagger. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna go mad, and people are gonna kill me.
And Perrin just looks like he's just got wolf eyes and can talk to wolves.
Like he's just like I'm gonna pretend I'm a sniffer because apparently people don't like wolf brothers.
Exactly. Yeah. They're a bit afraid of them. Because wolves have a really bad reputation everywhere. In every little bit of writing, wolves have the worst reputation. I was watching something with my son there, and it was about wolves being nice and like loyal and protective of like the pack and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I explained to him how like they're in the dog family and that actually they're quite nice, and he was like, no, they're very bad. Wolves are very, very bad.
Well, they shouldn't be eating pigs and
it's like
little girls in red hoods.
What I said to him, I said it was just one wolf that gave them all a bad name. It's the same wolf and all these things that just gave them a bad name.
Yeah, No, I mean, there's a lot of fun things to unpack here. I mean, we haven't even, because now we're actually talking about like the end of Rand's arc in that parallel world or
Yeah.
that strange dimension. But there's also the whole thing about, you know, his dream, his vision. And I find that the dark one is a lot more menacing in this one. Like the whole, like he's described as having like this dark kind of like cloth mask over his face.
Yeah.
Where he can kind of like hint his and there's some great visual stuff you could do with that. You could really, and then he'd remove this, do you want to see my face? And Rand's like, not really. I'm not really into that part with your BDSM mask and everything. You keep that on.
You're all right, mate. Just leave it on. I don't want to see your hideous, scarred face from what I did to you in the last book. So just leave that out, please.
Yeah, and then he does remove it because obviously he's the dark one and he doesn't listen.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's just like got this like, what is it, like he's described as having like this dark face with cuts and you can see like fresh skin underneath.
Yeah.
So and then there's that's some great stuff because otherwise like the dark one has kind of been, I have found that he hasn't been as I mean he's been menacing, but he's only kind of how like Sauron is in the beginning. It's just like almost like disembodied.
Yeah, it's kind of the first book is kind of Scooby-Doo villain-esque.
Yeah.
His peeps popping up and he's like, ooh, that's so scary and that kind of stuff. And you know, there's some really effective bits in it. I do love the dream bits, but then like
absolutely.
This one he feels like a lot more of a physical thing. So let's chart it back anyway. So first chapter in this bit, they go missing, they go into the thing and they go like, and Horin's like, I can smell a dark friend. We'll smell that way, and then we'll find our way where we need to go. And then it goes back to Perrin and the boys.
Yeah.
And
they're short chapters here.
Yeah, the short chapters. But this chapter is the one that I was telling you about last time, which caused massive discussions and conspiracy theories and hate until the Towers of Midnight, I think, when it gets resolved. So this is book 2. Towers of Midnight is book 13. And there's something that happened in this chapter that was not resolved until 13. And that was Verin arriving with the party. She chased after them all. She rocked up to Ingtar and Perrin. And she said that Moraine sent her.
Ooh.
Right? So bear that in mind, because that is something.
So book 13.
Well, it's mentioned again in this book later on, and then it's not kind of resolved until book 13 either way. Because remember, Aes Sedai cannot tell lies.
Yeah.
So if they say something, then it has to have been true. If they say it. So if they say the Robert Jordan writing here is green, then it has to have been green. They can't say that this is orange, right? Because it's unless they're colorblind, I suppose. But anyway, if they know it, so like, they can't say that, right? But they could just say, there isn't all green writing on this book, which is like around the truth or something. Yeah. So if they say something definitive, like Moraine sent me, then Moraine must have sent her. All right, so remember that.
I will remember that.
So yeah, Verin, what do you think of Verin then anyway? Because she's been kind of popping up a little bit in this book so far, and she's back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't say that I didn't give it that much thought that just as she returned. I mean, obviously the characters themselves have something to say about that, but I was more interested in where the hell the sniffer part was going when the wolf brother.
You just love it, don't you? You just love this sniffing business. You're just like, what a great excuse. I wonder if because like Hurin's like mentioned at the end of Eye of the World, I think. Is he mentioned at the end of the Eye of the World?
I don't know. Is he?
I can't remember now. But I wonder if like Robert Jordan just like invented him and was like, this is a great cover for Perrin for a bit. He can just pretend to be one of these guys.
And I think it's funny because I mean, obviously they say he's a sniffer, and I kept thinking of Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events, where one of the kids calls the orphans cake sniffers, and that's like an insult.
Yeah. I used to say that to my wife all the time. She used to get really annoyed because she didn't know what it was about because she hadn't read them. And I used to be like, "You're such a cake sniffer." Don't know why. Don't know why. So yeah. So after the sniffing bit, we're back onto the one that you were just talking about. So
Yeah, this is where he's.
So Loyal makes himself a staff by singing at a tree.
Yeah.
Great. It's a big staff, and he just makes it grow by singing at it.
Yeah.
What a guy!
And he says, and I think they mentioned that because this is the second time Rand has seen him do it. So I'm guessing there's a lot of things that, like, if you haven't read book one, it really doesn't matter at this point because they circle back to book one quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Hurin says that like the thing that you can smell, it's kind of like a memory of it. It's not like a real thing. It's like this, like, which is interesting. It's like he can. So that kind of tells you that this is not a real kind of place. It's not it's something that might have happened or could have happened, but it's not something that's like set in stone. And then Rand has the dream.
Yeah.
And he tells him definitively. He says that there are dark friends in the White Tower, which obviously comes back to the prologue. We know this for certain that there are dark friends in the White Tower, and Rand's sword gets so hot it burns the heron mark.
Yeah, he gets a scar,
fulfilling one of the prophecies of the Cartheran cycle.
Very, very Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And I mean, I think I did love that part. And there's a lot of like, throwback. The Dark One refuses to call him by his real name, or he actually kind of calls him Lewis Theron, maybe his real name. But
it probably is his real name, isn't it? Like, what is his? If you're reborn, like obviously, like is Luce Theron? This is one of the things that I've never really kind of figured out definitively in my own head. I was going to say my own head, then my actual accent was coming through. Then in my own head, I write like that sometimes. I always write me instead of my, and I have to go back and change it. I'll just do find and replace for me's because it's just easier just to do it because I just don't even see them sometimes. So I always wonder, is Luce Theron the original dragon that's been spun out of the pattern so many times, or is he just the last one and the one before that was like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, is it always like, say in the fourth age, a dragon comes back? Is it going to be Randall 4? Is that what people will call him? Like, you know what I mean? Or would he be still Luce Theron again? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I got to ask you here because we didn't touch on it last time because there was so much to unpack, and we didn't even mention that easing the badger mentioned in the first part. But what I was just asking, like, so just to break it down to a standard fantasy trope, which is the battle between good and evil, right? That is like a standard fantasy trope. Is the dragon good and is the Dark One evil? Because obviously, I mean, there's something there. Moraine wants to protect Rand, where the other Aes Sedai obviously want to gentle him. People seem to be afraid of the dragon.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one because it's like that's something I was saying. This is what I was saying on the last one with John. I was saying it when I was on a Dusty Wheel as well. I don't really get the Red Ajar that much because I get it when it's a false dragon and they want to kind of do it. It hasn't fulfilled any of the prophecies and all that. But like, Rand is fulfilling prophecies. So why would they want to gentle him? Because they know that the dragon has to fight the Dark One. They want to control. So like Moraine and Suan and Verin at this point want to let him go to fulfill as many of the prophecies as they can, so he can say he is the dragon and we have him under control, right? and he's going to fight for the White Tower. But they're worried that some other people are going to be like, we have to gentle him, and it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense because he's the dragon, like, and you have to have the dragon to fight that one. But it answers the question anyway. I think at the start of the series, it starts off a lot more black and white, good versus evil, but as it develops, it becomes more. And this is something that the showrunner Rafe has said that he wants to adapt the TV show as the book series as a whole. It becomes more of chaos versus choice, free will and choice, right? And that starts to develop a lot more after book 3 until right through to the end of the series. It's more of like free choice versus destiny, chaos versus harmony, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's something that they're going to kind of bring in more into the TV show at the start. Because it's a bit more of a developed idea. Because obviously, again, he started writing this in 1983, 1984. So by the time that he got to books 4, 5, and 6, it was the mid-90s, and he'd been working for this for years. And he's obviously his own ideas. He kept on having ideas for other series when he was writing this as well. That he would, like, one of them was going to happen. Something was going to happen in the end of the Eye of the World, where Rand and some other people would be shipwrecked, and they'd just wake up on this island full of dark friends, right?
Yeah.
And then it was just Rand on his own. And then he just completely took it out and set it, and he was like, this is going to be a new series when I finish Wheel of Time called Infinity of Heaven, and this is how it's going to start. So it was just something that he wanted to do really, really badly, like, and he never got to do it. But like, so he kept on having more and more of the ideas, and I'm sure as well, like when he was kind of, because this is when he was doing book 2, so he was probably thinking, oh, I'll do 5 of these, and then I'll do Infinity of Heaven. But as this was like getting more complex and longer, he was probably having these other ideas for other series that he wanted to explore, and was like, right, realistically, I've got another 10 books of these to do, so I'm going to just put them into this series and develop it that way. So, yeah.
Well, so we move on, and now we come to sitting, right? Well, there's a lot of this, like Kinslayer, and they're going to the mountains, and
we have the chapter with a great name, In the Mirror of Darkness, as well, which is a great chapter name. I think it's very Lovecraftian, actually.
Very much so. It could be a Lovecraft. When we talked about that, I mean, it would be great to if anybody actually knew how much Lovecraft influenced Jordan. As I said, as we spoke before, it might be an untapped scholarly paper somebody could write.
Yeah.
There was only a literary scholar somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's just find one. Let's find someone to do it. There will be people that probably would know, like, for sure. Like his editing team and his like research team would probably know, and his buddies and stuff. But maybe next time, maybe this year if Jordan Con is on, it was cancelled last year, we could get the question in there, ask someone. Well, I love this chapter actually, because obviously we meet Celine, but the first thing we see is they come across, like, where there's this monument that would have been for Arthur Harkwind and his victory, where it's like this big Trolloc thing instead, which is just like, it's so nightmarish, and it reminds me a little bit of in the Return of the King book, and I think it's in the deleted scenes, the extended edition of the movies, where Frodo and Sam are moving through Iflin, and they see, like, the statue of the king, and the flowers are going through it, and it's all decapitated, and there's a big orc head on top of it, and like, but then they find the crown on the floor, and there's like flowers growing through the hair, and Frodo's like a bit of a mad episode for a second.
Well, yeah, it's like the Tim Burton's version of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
In the end, and it's an ape instead of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, let's not talk about that film. let's not talk about it.
But I will put in, not that I am a particular fan of the film, but the actual book it's based off of. is actually excellent.
Yeah, and more like the Tim Burton film as well than the '68 film is. The '68 film obviously changed the ending of the book
Yeah.
quite a bit, and the guy who wrote it was quite jealous about it. Apparently, this is a better ending than my book. So
He's French. He was French.
with French, yeah. So yeah, they come across Celine, who is fighting a Grom.
And that's the thing. Here again, I got annoyed because it was like, how many times can you put in the word Grom in a chapter? Because it was like all the time. It's like, yeah, we get it. There was some kind of hideous monster there, but you don't have to use like it seems like Rand somehow is a little bit OCD because he has to repeat the same thing over and over again.
He does. Yeah, Grom is a good word though, isn't it? Grom. I like it. It's a good word. So Celine knows about the void and tells Rand that he needs to use the void all the time.
Yeah.
And she's very keen to him to get the Horn of the Valir as well for glory.
Yeah. And this is where I'm thinking that she is a temptress, a seductive figure, because she keeps pushing him towards things that he is a little bit kind of like on the fence about doing. I mean, he wants to get the horn, but he's not going to get the horn because of personal glory. He wants it so that...
Talking about getting the horn when Celine's around, will you? Like, find a different way of saying it.
Anyway, he doesn't want Padam Fain to acquire it.
To acquire the object.
Yes, exactly. But Celine is very keen on it.
She is, yes. She's very keen on it. So I mean, it's one of those weird chapters again where like it basically stops when they see these Grom attacking them, and so it goes straight into the next chapter, and Celine's saying we have to kill them all, or go somewhere else. So like. She wants Rand to go and use the portal stone, but Rand is like, no, I'm going to fight him. I'm going to use my bloody bow.
He's very adept.
He is, yeah. They were teasing him about it at the beginning of the book, saying he's going to go and club some rabbits, but instead he kills some Grom. He kills all 5 of them.
Yes, he shoots them right in the center eye.
Yeah, using the void, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then more appear, and then Rand's like, fine, we'll use the portal. And Celine seems to know which one to pick. She's like, maybe try this one.
I'm thinking she's a plant.
A plant. From who?
I think it's the dark one.
Ingtar.
Ingtar.
He's like, if I can't go in this world and kill these Grom, I'm going to send someone to help me do it when you come back.
I don't know. I think she's a plant.
Okay.
She's way too. Not that she's way too good looking, because obviously he's like talking. I mean, Rand really has a thing for her, and even Loyal is kind of like, he's like, damn.
And Horinus as well.
Yes, well, the sniffer.
Yeah, they all like her. So they get through anyway, and they end up in Kinslayer's dagger. And she's like, yeah, we're ahead of everyone because we can move at different times and distances. Yeah. And it's like, how does she know all these things? I actually wrote on my notes, Celine wants to stay to see if they can get the horn. Why did I write that? Like she's very good at twisting Rand around, because like he's very impressed when like she says that he's brave, and he's like, Egwene would never say that I was brave.
I know. He is so moody. He is so moody, that guy.
And speaking of Egwene, we go and check in to see what they're up to.
Yes, we have another narrative, a shift in point of view, and they're going on the boat. Nynaeve not too happy with the boat.
No, Nynaeve doesn't like it. She's this is her like she doesn't like sea travel one bit. Which I suppose is fair enough, because like She's from the Two Rivers, and even though like it's called Two Rivers and there is rivers in it, they don't really do a lot of water boating. It's kind of a landlocked place, and she's never been on a boat before. But Egwene is worried that Rand is in trouble because she keeps having dreams about Rand and a mask.
Yes, a masked man.
Yeah. We find out that the Amyrlin comes in and just pisses Nynaeve off.
I know,
which is great.
I just got to interject here because I really enjoyed the fact that, like, I think it was to say that Egwene has been trying to bring Nynaeve food.
Yeah.
Because she needs to eat, but she's like tired of getting shit thrown at her.
Yeah.
She just keeps she's very ornery too. She's also Nynaeve is not happy, not a happy camper at all.
Yeah. No, it's good fun. It's a fun little chapter because I know it's funny. The last block that we read, we end after quite an exciting, fast-paced, intriguing start. The last one was an isolated chapter of Egwene and Nynaeve where it was kind of just wheels spinning and re-going old ground from the last one. But then on this one, he does it again, but does it in a different way and makes it more fun because it's about the characters. Because Suan's a great character. She's brilliant. And she's just gets under people's skin and she's almost like an older version of Nynaeve. And I sometimes wonder if I know there was a different plan for Nynaeve, but still at this point as well where she was going to be more like the Nimue character to Moraine's Morgana in the Arthurian kind of way, which is in his notes and everything. But I often wonder if she was going to, if he had thoughts of her becoming at this stage, he was okay, she's going to be an Amyrlin, and he knew that at this stage already. Not to say that happens or doesn't happen, but I wonder if that was at this stage, he was I want people to see the parallels between these two characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a great bit because, the Amyrlin seat, she pisses Nynaeve off, and then she wants to show her, they put her in her place.
Yeah.
To show her power. But then Nynaeve shows her power. And they just kind of get into a magic battle.
They do, yeah. She pins her up against the wall, doesn't she, or something?
So the Amyrlin seat is just should we just let each other go?
Yeah. Yeah, they talk about it, don't they, in one of the previous chapters where Moraine and Suan kind of catch up, and she's it's all politics, and the Reds are trying to get Elaine Trakan to be one of them, and it'll be a great status boost because she's so strong. And Moraine's well, actually, I have two girls here that are stronger than her, and one of them is the strongest that's lived for years. So what are you going to do about it? Already how strong Nynaeve is if she can overcome a block, which they also then it goes into more kind of it underlines that at the end of this chapter where they meet Sheriam, who is the head of the novices, and she's well, you're not going to be a novice, you're going to get tested for accepted level straight away because you're too strong.
Yeah. Was this scene, do you think that, because we were talking about Nynaeve and Moraine, early plans that they were going to fight with each other and stuff like that, do you think that this was a scene that was supposed to be between Nynaeve and Moraine?
No, I think still at this point he was still on. It wasn't that they were going to kind of fight. It was more. So from his early notes and when he was still kind of working on this book and the next one, he was going to position them to be on the same side, but wanting different things for some of the characters, which would bring them to loggerheads, and they would have a confrontation. Where obviously in the Arthurian legend, the Mew defeats Morgana, doesn't she? And she locks her in a cave. I think it is, isn't it? Locks her away in a cave or underground or something. And I think that was what he was kind of working towards in a way, that was kind of going to happen. And then something basically changed his mind around book 3, I think. By I think this was more just kind of showing, like, so this was more just showing you how powerful that she actually is, how she could be. And I do think as well that he was looking at the similarities between the characters of Suan and Nynaeve as well. The other thing that's interesting in this chapter is the dream aspect as well. Like, so Egwene, it's not just like a funny feeling that she's having. It's told to us quite clearly that she is, these dreams that she's having are happening.
Mm.
Like, we know that they're happening, and that is something that becomes a bigger thing in the rest of the books as well. Because obviously, again, like with Perrin's wolfiness and her sniffiness, there's all this old powerful things that are coming back into the world that had been done away with forever. Even the strength of the characters, because we're introduced to, well, we're not even met Elaine again yet in this one. We've only met her briefly in the first book, but we've been told about 3 different Aes Sedai now that are more powerful than anyone that the White Tower has had for thousands of years.
Mm.
And we can see then, like, the wheel, the pattern is gearing up for something, because it's like it's spinning out these powerful Aes Sedai. It's spun out 3 Ta'veren, the Dragon Reborn. It's got Min from the first book, who has all these, like, she can see the pattern above people's heads. We've got some man who can sniff violence.
I can't take you serious when you say I can sniff. I wonder what it smells like. Probably like sweat and male despair.
I think it smells like Old Spice.
You think so? Very, very Old Spice.
Yeah. It smells like sweat and despair, doesn't it? So.
Yeah. I was like, you were going to say axe.
Axe. It smells of axes.
No, the lynx, I think you call it.
Oh, yeah,
the body spray.
Yeah, well, there's so many different varieties of that one. They call that axe in Sweden, do you?
Yeah, axe.
Axe. I suppose it's just as good a name as lynx, really.
Really? What does lynx? I mean, axe. I can relate to that manliness. Axe. Lynx. I mean, I know what lynx is, but
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird one. I've never really thought about it too much, to be honest with you. But now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. That might be a good thing to do for the next time we have a guest on, is when we do the quick fire round. What body spray does the various characters use?
Yeah. I'm thinking that Ingtar, he has.
He wouldn't use any.
Lynx Africa.
He wouldn't use any. He would just get dirt up off the ground, mixed in blood, and just smear it on himself so he could smell of death and murder, because that's what he loves.
Trolloc blood.
Trolloc blood, Madral blood. Just any blood that he can get his hands on, that's what he wants. But yeah, so that was all the 6 chapters. So quite a Rand-heavy section.
Yes.
And he is there, but the pacing is different, because it does, unlike the Eye of the World where it was just exclusively Rand.
Yeah,
we are jumping around a little bit, and new concepts almost in every chapter.
Yeah, and I like that. I like it. I mean, it was a slow move. The read was slower for me than it was when I was reading through the 12 chapters, because it just felt like things were happening all the time. It was a faster pace, but on the other hand, this was more. I mean, these are more compact because there's more stuff to unpack. More solid chapters in that sense.
Yeah.
That there's a lot more that we can you can build upon later. This sets the stage very nicely.
No cocky Lan for us this time. We got our Lan cockiness in the last.
We got sniffers instead.
Yeah, I wish Lan was a sniffer. Wouldn't that be?
He's a cake sniffer.
He's a cake sniffer. Lan, Great Hunt, beginning of Great Hunt Lan is my favourite Lan. I know we didn't really talk about it last time because we had so much to talk about, but I just love how he's just like popping up everywhere. Just popping up, telling Rand all this, like, do this and do this and do this, and just like having a big laugh to himself. And then like there's a bit then after like he's been to the Amberlin seat and like Nynaeve comes past him and he's just like sat in some window just watching with a big laugh, having a big laugh to himself about something. It's like
he's very like Steve McQueen, James Dean kind of character, isn't he?
Yeah, he kind of like the first book is very much Aragon in the first book.
Yeah.
With a death wish, more of a death wish than Aragon had. But he's just too damn good at fighting that he can't die. So he's very much like, and he even has the same kind of backstory as him, like he's a king in exile, and like he's has all this kind of stuff. But in this book, especially at the start, because again he's not really in this book quite a lot, but he gets a lot more, like the relationship, and I hope that's something that they really kind of bring out more in the TV show. The relationship with him and Rand really works for him as a character because you're able to kind of relate to him. Because up until that point, you just see him as like he has a little bit of a thing for Nynaeve, which again I hope is expanded upon. But you just see him really as basically Aragon who is protecting Moiraine. That's his character. Whereas in this one, he's doing things that Moiraine doesn't approve of, and it's like it's his own choice to do things, and it's like. I love that bit where like he goes in to get Rand and summons him and says like the Amberlin wants to see you, and he just starts going through his wardrobes and picking out clothes for him and stuff, and he's like, let me see your boots. Yep, no, they're fine. And it's like
I'm thinking like he was very much in the first book, very much like Cohen the Barbarian from Terry Pratchett's series. He's like this old barbarian who can't die. He's like so tired. I was just like, I just want to die, but I can't help it. I just have to de-virginize women and kill stuff.
Well, instead of de-virginize women, Lan just wants to protect.
He's very chaste.
Very chaste, isn't he? He comes across that. He does. Like I say, he is just very Aragon, isn't he? In the first, but like he's still.
Who is also very chaste.
Who is? Yeah, he's very. I mean, Lord of the Rings is very chaste, though, isn't it?
It's very chaste. You'd almost think that the author was some kind of English Oxford professor.
You would almost think that. Yeah.
Catholic at that too.
Almost. You'd think he was very good friends with Lewis Carroll. Who?
Lewis, you mean?
Name Lewis, yeah. C.S. Lewis. Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll actually. His writing workshop place was like about 10 miles from my house.
Oh yeah.
You go and visit it and stuff. Where he wrote some stuff. Yeah, C.S. Lewis. They were in a writers' club, weren't they?
Yeah, the Inklings.
Yeah, and Christopher Lee met them one time as well. Did you read about it? Christopher Lee's autobiography is brilliant.
No, I haven't read it.
I suppose, like, I mean, he wrote that when he was like in his mid-80s, so he had some life. Like, I mean, he was in the Navy SEALs and everything as well, or the SAS, sorry, the Navy SEAls, the American one. But like, he had some life. But like, yeah, he was because he was a big Lord of the Rings fan from when it.
Yeah, that I know.
And he just happened to be in the pub that they drank in and was like completely fanboying over it.
I know. I saw a documentary about him probably like 20, 30 years ago where they interviewed him, a long series of interviews. And because he played Fu Manchu in the Sax Romer books, and he would take the trolley dressed in the Fu Manchu outfit. And there's this guy came up to him and is just like speaking Mandarin. He's just like, no, I don't understand what you're saying. But he's just like, but you're dressed. It's like, yeah, no, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
What's your name? What's your last name? Lee. Well, so you.
Like, yeah. Well, it's one of those things that you couldn't do these days. Like it's just not done anymore. But
I think because I have a couple of like Sax Romer audiobooks, and I think they all have disclaimers.
Yeah.
In the beginning, because it's so racist.
It'll be interesting because tomorrow, I don't know if they do it. It's probably in Sweden as well. They're adding all of the Fox stuff to Disney Plus under like this adults thing called Stars or something. I think. And I wonder, like, if they're going to put any, because like there's some stuff they're just refusing to put onto Disney Plus, like Song
Yeah.
of the South. Um, but there is other stuff they've put disclaimers on. I wonder if what Fox stuff they're going to do that with, because obviously if they've got the whole back catalogue, there's going to be a few things in there.
They did it on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
I read that yesterday. They put the disclaimer on the Muppet Show, and especially because Johnny Cash is like singing in front of a Confederate flag in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
not the best, but
like God, it's not even that long ago. But anyway, hopefully we won't have to do any of this kind of stuff in the Wheel of Time. Not coming to Disney Plus. It's coming to Amazon Prime.
Yes, I've been wondering if they're going to pick it up anywhere else, because I mean, Amazon Prime. I mean, a lot of people in the world don't have Amazon Prime. I mean, a lot of Swedes. I mean, we do have it here, but I mean, obviously, you have to have Amazon Prime to get it.
Yeah,
a lot of Swedes don't buy stuff from Amazon, and they don't have Amazon Prime. So I was wondering if they're going to put it on, because here in Sweden we have HBO, something called HBO Nordic. And you probably have like an HBO Max or something like that.
We don't have HBO Max here. Yeah, it's coming, I think, later on this year.
We don't because they have HBO Nordic has they have Outlander, Walking Dead, like all the AMC stuff, like Hell on Wheels and Turn. And a lot of people in Sweden think that they're HBO shows, but they're not, because they're all just used.
So they're all on Sky Atlantic over here. They have the rights for it all, for the HBO stuff. So I don't know if that's, but they are looking to launch their own the HBO thing over it. But like Amazon Prime's a bit of a weird one here, because we obviously before Brexit, because obviously I'm in Ireland, we would use the co.uk. In Ireland, and we'd get the same perks from the Prime stuff. It'd be free delivery and all this kind of stuff. But it's all gone absolutely mad now. And like the Prime thing for us, unless it's something that they have in one of the distribution centres in Ireland, it just doesn't matter. If it's something we have to get in from England or mainland Europe, we just can't get it at the moment for most of the stuff. We have to get it from America, which Prime stuff doesn't work. So obviously when you have a Prime account, it includes everything. Including the TV. But to be fair, it's I do think Amazon Prime is really good quality, actually. The actual the service, like The Boys, is really good.
Yeah, The Boys, and I think it was the one that Jordan Peele did, the one about the Nazi hunters.
The Hunters.
Yeah, it was just the Hunters. And obviously, I did enjoy
Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Castle, even if it's completely different from the book. The book is actually super weird.
Yeah, and my wife says the Jack Ryan TV show is really good as well.
The Terror, the Dan Simmons one.
Yeah,
you should see if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's really good. They had Seinfeld on it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to rewatch all of Seinfeld, and I was getting well back into it.
Yeah,
and it went off. It's gone.
They show it on TV here every day. 2 episodes a day of Seinfeld.
I wanted to watch it all in order, but now, geez. So, so I think the thing is with Amazon Prime is that Amazon have got so much money. They're gonna make it successful, because there's people that we're not going to get 14 seasons of the Wheel of Time, because it's not feasible. Not even even if it was like Game of Thrones level or Mandalorian level popular, you're still not going to get 14 seasons, because the guy who the cast as Rand is 21 or 22 or something like that, right? When they cast him, that was 3 years ago, right? Because of COVID, everything, it's all been delayed. So if they did 14 seasons, he's going to be in his mid-30s by the time it's finished. These books take place over 2 or 3 years, and you could easily get someone, late 20s and make them look early 20s, or mid-20s or something. But if he's in his 36 or 37, it's going to be a lot harder. And then you got people like Daniel Henney, who plays Lan. He's 41 or something now. He's not going to be playing Lan when he's 55.
Start losing his hair. Rand starts going bald.
Exactly. So 14 years is just it's not for this kind of thing as well. Like it's not a soap opera; it's extensive, big budget. So you're probably looking at like 6 or 7 seasons max if it's successful, maybe 8, which they can condense it down to. But like they've put enough money into it where they're gonna make it successful, and they're gonna give it 2 or 3 years to become successful. Because like they did that, Man in the High Castle wasn't like cheap, it wasn't expensive, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't popular at the start because no one had Amazon Prime. Like, but they kept going with it for 5 seasons, and they're gonna that's and then obviously they put lots of money in the Wheel of Time. They put even more money into the Lord of the Rings TV show that they're doing because they had to buy the rights for it as well, which was like astronomical. So they're gonna make the service a success, and they're gonna get people to watch it. So no, it's exciting. Hopefully, we're getting closer to a trailer now that we saw a little bit of footage there during the week as well.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're here's hoping. I mean, I think The Boys was successful right away.
Yeah,
but that was because also The Boys had a big following
yeah.
before.
It's came at the right time as well. It came out at the right time, and it was it was a exciting cast of well liked people in it. That like Carl Urban's well liked, and you had other people that were like up and coming actors that were in other things that people liked as well.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't care for with The Boys is that they didn't cast Simon Pegg as the character that was based on Simon Pegg.
It's too old.
Yeah, but still, you make him look young.
No, Simon. That's the thing. Simon Pegg is beyond that point where they can make him look young now.
And the thing is, he's supposed to be Scottish. I mean, Huey is supposed to be Scottish, and he's not in the show.
Yeah, but I'm glad about that because Simon Pegg's Scottish accent is awful.
Yeah, well, that's just maybe. Anyway, let's we can wrap it up here. Otherwise, we could be chatting all day, and people will be going to be wondering what the hell's going on. Yeah. Next time we'll talk about 6 more chapters. Some exciting things come on the horizon, I hope.
There is.
We don't have that much news personally right now.
Nothing we can talk about.
No, nothing we can talk about at least. Yeah. But yeah.
That's it.
Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. Facebook it out, tweet it out. Tell your friends.
On YouTube as well, because this one,
yes,
you'll be seeing us with this one. Maybe this might be the first one. Maybe it's the second.
It'll be the second one. I'll send you. I keep forgetting to send you the other stuff. We'll have to figure out how to do that if I want to send it per email or Drive link or whatever, because you have to. It's quite a big file. Yeah. Your Ingtar. Is that your Ingtar impression?
My Ingtar impression. I wouldn't like to do one. To be honest, I'm not as bloodthirsty as Ingtar. No, I don't like killing as much as he does. I don't think I like anything as much as he likes killing, though.
No, probably not. If you could only look at your child as like Ingtar looks at killing.
Yeah, it's just that little bit more.
Just a little bit.
Just that little bit more. Just not capable of it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, listening to us ramble. Until what?
The next turn of the wheel, which is in 2 weeks.